Thanks everyone for joining us for today's webinar. The title today is Get Active with MS, and we're going to be looking at the benefits of exercise. Jady Lam is your presenter today, and she's one of the exercise physiologists working in our Lidcombe gym. And I'm Andrea Salmon, and I'm online as the facilitator. So thank you, Jady, for presenting today. We're looking forward to what you've got to share.
Thank you, Andrea. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining me for today's webinar on getting active with MS, the benefits of MS. Just double checking, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, that's looking really good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, that's good. All right, so my name's Jady, and as Andrea mentioned, I worked as one of the 3 exercise physiologists at the Lidcombe MS Gym in New South Wales. As there's no webcam, Andrea has kindly suggested putting a picture of myself so you could all put a name to face. So that's me over there with 2 of my colleagues in our gym. I've been with MS for the past 1.5 years, and part of my job is working with our clients to complete their individualized exercise program here in our gym safely and effectively to meet their exercise goals. We'd like to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians, past and present, on whose lands we meet today. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and the relationship of the Aboriginal people to country and respect the cultural authority of the elders in each community. Today, I'll be speaking about MS and exercise. The presentation will include the benefits of exercise, exercise guidelines, the different types of exercise, and practical strategies on how to incorporate exercise into your lifestyle by overcoming barriers and keeping motivated. There's also time at the end of the presentation for any questions, but feel free to ask questions anytime. Starting off, I would like to clarify a few terms: physical activity, exercise, and incidental activities, as some of these terms can be used interchangeably and can be quite confusing. So physical activity is defined as bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that requires energy expenditure. In simple terms, this is any movement that our body produces. Physical activity is the umbrella term that includes both exercise and incidental activity. We define exercise as planned, structured, and repetitive physical activity for the purpose of developing physical fitness. So exercise is movement that we plan that has a specific structure and is consistently completed with the goal of gaining physical benefits such as fitness or strength. And lastly, incidental activity is unstructured activity that we do throughout the day, such as walking for public transport, could be housework. It's general day-to-day things that we might do around the house as part of daily living. And we don't necessarily plan or think too much about this type of movement while we're doing it. The majority of this presentation focuses on exercise. What are the benefits of exercise for people with MS? In the past, health professionals discouraged exercise as there were concerns that exercise might worsen MS symptoms. We now know that exercise is safe. 26 studies, which includes nearly 1,300 people with MS, have found exercise does not increase relapses or adverse events. We now know that regular exercise training is important for reducing deconditioning, maintaining general fitness, and may also help to reduce the impact of specific symptoms of MS and help maintain optimum function. Despite this, nearly 80% of individuals with MS don't partake in physical activity at all. So I'd like to start off with a bit of a poll. So MS can result in various mental and physical problems. So this can include things like fatigue, muscle weakness, spasticity, loss of mobility, loss of balance, increased risk of falls, muscular and neuromuscular pain, changes in sensation, cognition changes, and mood changes. So in this poll, I would like to ask you all what MS symptoms you might have And for any listeners that's listening in who don't have MS, please select the symptoms that you may have seen in individuals with MS. So we might switch to another page, so you could select which answer you might like.
Thanks, Jady. I've launched that poll now. So if you use your mouse to hover over whichever of these symptoms apply to you, you can tick as many that apply, and I can keep tabs on who's voted and who, well, I don't actually know who hasn't voted, but I can keep track that half the group have voted, and we're up to about 60, 70%, so a couple more people to vote on this one. And you'll be interested to see the results. I'll show you that in a second. But just use your mouse to choose which of those apply to you. And if there's something else, by all means, pop it in the comments section. We'd be really happy to hear that. I'll close that off and I'll share the results. So, Jady, I'm not sure if you can see this on your screen, but 100%, everyone that's online said they experienced fatigue. 92% said they experienced muscle weakness and spasticity. 79% said they experienced pain and or changes in sensation. 75% recognise a loss of mobility, balance or falls. And 71% experienced cognition change or mood changes.
Yeah, and we can see that these symptoms are actually quite common, and there is a high percentage of people who have MS with these symptoms. And at this point in time, there's actually no one medication that is able to help with all these symptoms. But the good news is exercise has positive effects on all of the above. So all of these MS symptoms, and that's the amazing thing about exercise. And I'm really hoping I'll be interested to sort of see down the track, how many people are doing exercise and whether or not after listening to this presentation, we're motivated to actually start, because exercise is such a wonderful thing for these MS symptoms. Moving forward, I'll go into a little bit more detail about each of these benefits. So there are a number of physical benefits of exercise for MS, including increased muscular strength, fitness, and endurance. What this means is we can complete more everyday tasks before getting tired. There's improved posture and flexibility, resulting in decreasing pain and stiffness, because sometimes if we're finding certain movements quite hard, we end up losing certain joint range of motions. And this can be because of the spasticity or prolonged inactivity. There is also improved balance and coordination, which helps with decreasing falls risk and improving our gait. And this makes it easier for us to go into the community and mobilize. There's improved sexual functioning and bladder bowel function. Also improved bone health, which is important, as certain treatments such as corticosteroids, inactivity, menopause, and being unable to weight bear leads to reduced bone density, and also improved recovery after relapse. Individuals with MS who exercise regularly also gain the same benefits as the general population in terms of reducing the risk of secondary complications due to inactivity. This includes reducing the risk of cardiovascular disease such as heart disease, stroke, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, some cancers such as colon, breast, endometrial, and lung cancers. Exercise is also important for reducing or maintaining weight, as well as maintaining and building strong bones and muscles. There are also psychological benefits of exercise, including improved mood and sense of well-being, improved sleep, alertness and concentration, decreasing fatigue and cognition fatigue. There is also growing evidence that exercise can minimize disease progression and promote healthy myelin due to its anti-inflammatory properties. There are also social benefits of exercise, including meeting new people, socializing, gaining support from others that you might exercise with, being part of a group such as a club or team, having that sense of belonging. And there are also specific groups, such as an MS-specific exercise group, where you might be able to share experiences due to having things in common. What we usually find at the Lickham gym is sometimes people might share the experiences with certain walkers or things like wheelchairs, or maybe even health professionals, or things that might help around the house. So it's really good to hear those conversations happening within our gym. And all these benefits of exercise all work towards that goal of improving the quality of life, because this means being able to live independently at home and with your family. Enjoy being part of the community, being able to go out to have lunch or dinner, being able to go out to see shows with things like friends and families, being able to work as well, being able to complete tasks more independently with less assistance from others, and also being able to complete more tasks before feeling tired and fatigued. So how much exercise should we be doing to achieve these benefits? I think we're going to go in for another poll. I'm actually interested to know how much exercise everyone is doing at the moment, ranging from none, less than an hour, 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, or more than 5 hours. So we might switch over to the poll screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Jady. And just as Jady said, you've got to commit yourself now to choosing which one applies to you. Now, no judgment here, but it's really good to know what people are doing, and we'll be able to encourage you and support you in the exercise that you're doing. But it's really, we've got to be realistic with ourselves too. If we're not doing exercise, perhaps that's the prompt we need to start doing some. And I'm guessing that's why you're here today, to explore how you might be able to do a bit more exercise. So that's great. There might be a couple more people to vote on that, or that could be everyone. That's fabulous. Fantastic. I'll close that off and I'll share the results with everyone. So good on you, the 12% who were honest enough to say you're not doing any exercise currently. 15% of the people online are doing less than an hour. 27% are doing between 1 to 2 hours. 31% of the group are doing between 3 to 4 hours, and 15% are doing more than 5 hours. That's awesome. I'll hide that again.
That's really great. Yeah. And I think it's really good to hear. We've got a bit of a range. We've got people who may not be doing any exercise, but they're thinking about doing exercise, and sometimes taking that initial step and thinking about doing exercise, that is really great. And people who are actually doing exercise at the moment, hopefully, we might be able to encourage, motivate you to either maybe do a little bit more or maintain this lifestyle habit as long as possible. So the next poll, and last poll of today, is I'm actually interested in knowing how much exercise you think we should be doing each week. So same responses, ranging from none, less than 1 hour, 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, or more than 5 hours.
So that's a great question, Jady. So everyone, again, you can just choose which you feel is the right answer. What do you think we should be doing each week? I'll be interested to hear this myself, because I have to admit I'm not an exercise junkie. Some people are, and I try to do the best I can. So sharing what you think we should be doing each week. That's nearly everyone voted on that. A couple more people, pop in your vote and let us know what you think you should be doing. That's great. I will share those results with everybody. So 15% think we should be doing 1 to 2 hours a week, Jady. 41% have indicated 3 to 4 hours, and 44% of the group think we should be doing more than 5 hours exercise each week.
Wow. And I think it's good to hear that everyone's actually motivated to do a lot of exercise, which is really great. And the good news is everyone's actually generally got it quite pretty much where the guidelines are, which is really excellent. So everyone knows a little bit about exercise, which is great. So moving forward, let's take a look at what the Australian guidelines for adults say about exercise. So it is recommended to do any physical activity is better than doing none, okay, which is really good. So there's no specific number, is anything is better than nothing. Ideally, being active on most or preferably all days of the week. We want to accumulate approximately 150 to 300 minutes, or that's 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate intensity physical activity, or 75 to 150 minutes, which is about an hour and a quarter to 2.5 hours of vigorous intensity physical activity, or a combination each week. So we can see that most people actually got that range, which is really excellent. And then on 2 of these days, to do a little bit of muscle strengthening activities as well. In addition to being physically active, we also want to keep in mind to minimize the amount of time that we spend sitting or in one position for a long period of time. So therefore, we do want to break up long periods of sitting or long periods of not moving as often as possible. So we want to ideally be moving every couple of hours. So for specific MS guidelines, we're actually going to travel to the other side of the world, to Canada. And why might that be? In Australia, we have about 25,500 individuals, or 1 in 1,000 people with MS. This number increases to 100,000 individuals, or 1 in 350 people in Canada. That's actually 28% higher than Denmark, which is the country that's ranked number 2 with the number of people with MS, and also 9 times higher than the global average. And in May 2013, Canada released some exercise guidelines for adults with MS. These guidelines were developed by a team of Canadian researchers who reviewed the literature on the topic of exercise and MS. They found that exercise training is effective for improving both aerobic capacity, which is our fitness, and muscular strength in people with mild to moderate disability. And they also found that exercise may also improve mobility, fatigue, and quality of life. In this review, they also determined what the minimal dose of exercise is. That is, the frequency, how often, the intensity, how hard, the type, what sort of exercise, and duration, how long of exercise was required to achieve the desired results, the benefits that we've got. And together with health experts and the MS community, they then developed evidence-based guidelines for people with MS. And the target population for these guidelines are adults aged 18 to 64 with mild to moderate disability. So on the disability scale, this is 0 to 7, and it ranges, and it's people who are unable to walk more than 5 meters, even with an aid. So it applies to a lot of people who are wheelchair users of the relapsing, remitting, and progressive forms of MS. So these are a little bit of how the guidelines look like, and we're actually going to go into it in a little bit more detail. So the Canadian Physical Guidelines for Adults with MS provides recommendations for aerobic activity and also for strength training. So I'll go through these 2 types of exercise in a little bit more detail in a few slides' time. So it is recommended to complete at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity twice a week. Moderate intensity is when we are huffing and puffing while doing our exercise. In addition to this, it is recommended to complete strength training on the major muscle groups, such as our legs, our arms, our chest, back and core, twice a week. With strength training, it is recommended to complete these exercises on alternating dates, because this allows for your muscle to recover. Aim for 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps with 1 to 2 minutes breaks between each exercise. So as an example, if we're doing something like squats, we're doing 10 to 15 squats. We have a bit of a break for 1 to 2 minutes and doing another round of 10 to 15 squats. By the time we get to the last few squats, the exercise should also be quite difficult. And for strength training, this is what we consider as moderate intensity. For individuals who may not have been active for a while, gradually work up to these recommendations. If we are able to meet these recommendations and guidelines, then it can help with reducing fatigue, improving mobility, and increasing quality of life. There are 3 ways on how we can measure intensity or how hard we are exercising. The first way is actually through our target heart rate. So our target heart rate is 50 to 70% of our heart rate max. We calculate the heart rate max by doing 220 minus your age. This measurement is usually taken before exercise, so you know what your baseline heart rate is, and after you've been exercising for about 5 to 10 minutes, because it takes a couple of minutes for your heart rate to stabilize. It is not the most effective way for measuring intensity, as the heart rate does not always reflect how hard you may be working in the MS population. The second way we measure is through the talk test, and I use this quite often. The talk test determines how hard you exercise by whether or not you can talk and or sing. So low intensity exercise, we can talk and sing without puffing. For moderate intensity, we can talk, but we won't be able to sing. And with high or vigorous intensity, we won't be able to say more than a few words without gasping for breath. The last way we measure is through the Borg scale. The Borg scale is a subjective measure of how hard you feel the exercise might be. So ideally, we do want to aim for somewhere between 3 to 8, or what we consider as moderate to really hard exercise. And this is a scale of 1 to 10. An example of how we put all that information together, we can see we are exercising on most days. So we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, with 2 days rest, a Wednesday and Sunday. So exercising on most days, 2 days rest, that follows the Australian guidelines for adults in terms of exercising on most days of the week. Aiming for approximately about 2.5 hours of exercise each week. That's taken from the Australian guidelines as well. And what we can also see is we've got the MS guidelines in that we've got at least 2 days where we've got 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, and we've got 2 days on alternating days for the strength training as well. So that gives you a bit of an idea how an example exercise plan might look like. The researchers went further and also developed a client information brochure called the MS Get Fit Toolkit in conjunction with the Canadian MS Society. The authors emphasised that people with MS should work towards meeting the guidelines in ways that they enjoy and at levels which suit their ability and lifestyles as well. So the guidelines look a little bit like this, and that will go over for the next few slides. So what you can see is it does give a quick summary of what we've talked about in terms of the guidelines, how hard we should be exercising, how much rest, little bit about the benefits, and also things like tips to improve and avoid injury. It's got a couple of examples of the different types of exercise and what you can do. So I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. And it also covers a little bit about overcoming different challenges as well, and goal setting, as well as making a bit of an action plan, which I'll actually cover a little bit later. So what are the different types of exercise? So as we've discussed, there are 3 types of physical activity. The first one is generally being active. So we call this the incidental activity or day-to-day moving activities, such as housework, gardening, walking to the shops, playing with the kids, the pets, parking the car further away and walking, and things like taking the stairs instead of the lift. It is important to minimize the amount of sedentary activity and ensure that we stand or move every 1 or 2 hours. The next type of exercise is we've got the strength training or the muscle building exercises. These exercises can be completed using free weights. It can be machine weights. It can be using body weights. Things like resistance bands, those stretchy bands that you might have gotten from the physio, or within the water. Sometimes you get the water dumbbells as well, or the pool noodles for a bit of resistance. They can be completed at home. It can be at the community centre. It can be at the gym. And some examples are doing things like squats, sit to stands, bicep curls, push-ups, sit-ups. And the recommendation for strength training is doing this twice a week on alternating days. And also with the strength training, as we get stronger, we do want to progressively increase the weights, whether or not it is the weight or whether or not it is also the amount of repetitions or the amounts of sets that we might be doing. And lastly, we've got the cardiovascular or fitness building exercises. So this might be things like the bikes or the cross trainers, can be treadmills, can be rowing machines, can be swimming and walking. Things like bikes and cross trainers and rowing machines are quite good for people whose lower body aren't as strong. It means you can still work out your upper body and also in a seated position if we're worried about our balance. These exercises can be performed in a variety of settings. It can be in a group-based setting, it can be individually, it can be in the home, it can be at the gym, or it can be outdoors or in the pool as well. And the good news with aerobic exercise is we can accumulate this throughout the day as well. So the recommendation might be about 30 minutes each day. So even if we did about 5 to 10 minutes, say in the morning, another 5 to 10 minutes in the afternoon, and maybe another 5 to 10 minutes after dinner, you would have easily gotten accumulated 15 to 30 minutes throughout the day. And as a bare minimum, we want to try and aim for about twice a week with the cardio aerobic exercises and up to 5 times a week for more benefits. There are other activities such as Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, and stretching. And these activities are great to do in addition to the exercise guidelines. Flexibility exercises such as stretching the muscles can help with spasticity and also prevent future contractions as well. Balance exercise are beneficial for falls by improving your balance. If we're able to fit in about 10 to 15 minutes of balance exercises daily, that will be great. We normally need our balance day to day, which is why we recommend doing these types of exercises quite often. And these exercises can be things like single leg stands, standing on one leg, can be heel to toe walk, so almost like walking on a balance beam, things like stepping over obstacles or stretching out the hamstrings. Some practical considerations of exercise. The symptoms, MS symptoms, do vary from person to person over time, and therefore everyone requires a different type of program. So having something which is individualized to you can be quite important. Exercise in a safe environment, because we don't want you to hurt yourself, whether or not it's having a support with you or in an environment where there are equipment which are suitable for you as well. Exercise needs to be performed regularly and also at a suitable intensity to get the benefits that we want. It doesn't have to be something specific. There is a wide range of exercise out there, and it comes down to doing activities that you find enjoyable, doing activities that physically you are able to do and can fit into your routine throughout the week. With the exercise, sometimes it is the quality of the movement that you are performing and not necessarily the quantity. So what that means is even if you are doing small amounts, but you're doing those small amounts well, and even if you do those often, you'll get the benefits rather than pushing through and losing technique with some of those exercises. And we progress exercises as tolerated. Everyone is quite different, and as we get stronger, we want to continually make the exercises a little bit harder so you continue to get more and more benefits. And particularly if we are starting with exercise and are new, we want to start with something which is quite new, quite low, and we might monitor how you feel after the exercise session, and monitor 1 or 2 days after exercising. And if you find everything is quite good, you're able to do everything that you normally do, then we could start progressing from there. But if you start the exercises and find you're getting really tired, you're getting quite a bit of pain, and you aren't able to do a lot of the things that you are able to do day to day, then what we might need to do is we'll need to taper back with the exercises and start a little bit lower. Yeah, and keep in mind, any moving is better than no moving. So as long as you're moving, then you'll get some benefits. And what can we do to overcome the barriers to exercise? There are a number of challenges for individuals with MS to exercise, and these includes things like temperature sensitivity, in particular heat sensitivity, fatigue, weakness, particularly of the lower limbs, and this might affect how well you're able to walk, stand, or even balance. So we've got things like pain, and we've got whether or not you are able to access the equipment or go to a location to exercise, and what to do if there are exacerbations of your MS symptoms. So starting off with heat sensitivity, it is a common MS symptom, and it's due to the autonomic dysfunction due to MS. And heat sensitivity is further compounded as there is a reduced ability to cool down because individuals with MS do also tend to sweat a little bit less as well. And a small rise in temperature in the environment or core body temperature can make the MS symptom worse, such as the sensory symptoms, fatigue, or muscular weakness. The good news is that exercise does not make MS worse or cause exacerbation. And once we cool down, then we should recover in about half an hour's time. Ideally, we do want to make sure we don't heat up as much. And unfortunately, with exercise, it does cause the body to heat up. And we've got a number of strategies that can help with this. We could exercise in a cool environment. This can be exercising early in the day during summer, not exercising under direct sunlight if we're outdoors, and cooling the room that we're exercising in with things like fans, aircon, or even going to the pools for exercise. We can also cool ourselves before exercise and after exercise with a cool shower, and this will help decrease the core temperature. Using things like wet towels and cooling scarves around the neck can help with cooling, as well as wearing light, loose clothing. Drinking icy cold water before, during, after exercise can also help. You could also use water to actually spray in your skin and sit in front of the fan, and that can help cool the core temperature down as well. We can exercise with small blocks versus long periods. So therefore, you find the period of time where you might be quite warm is decreased, and also taking as many breaks as you need to as well. We do find strengthening programs tend to be better tolerated than the more cardiovascular fitness training, because there isn't that increase of temperature as much for these exercises. And if you do find after exercising, you do get symptoms that last more than 60 minutes after exercise, then we might need to consider reducing the intensity or the duration for the next session. Fatigue is also quite a common symptom with MS, with 75 to 95% of individuals with MS experiencing fatigue, with 50 to 60% reporting this as one of the worst symptoms. And fatigue in MS is thought to result from different factors. partly caused by MS itself. This is known as primary fatigue, and also by other factors, which we call secondary fatigue, that can affect people with MS compared to those without MS. So it is believed that primary fatigue is due to the interrupted nerve messages from the brain to the spinal cord damaged by the MS. And as a result, your body needs more energy to function, which leads to the buildup of fatigue. Secondary fatigue occurs from the effects of living with MS. For examples, it can be symptoms such as depression, pain, sleep disturbance by spasms, or incontinence can also make fatigue worse. It can be a side effect of medications. It can be from inactivity, stress, poor diet or infection, and other medical conditions can also cause and worsen the fatigue as well. There is another fatigue which we call neuromuscular fatigue, and that's related to the failure of the nerve fibers to conduct the messages. For example, if we're exercising, you might find all of a sudden we aren't able to do that movement anymore, but that usually actually results with a short rest. And it can be hard to exercise when you are fatigued, but the combination of not exercising and the fatigue symptoms can actually lead to a gradual deconditioning cycle where we become less fit. And when we are less fit, we end up needing more energy to complete a task. And when we need more energy to complete a task, we become more tired, and this worsens the fatigue symptoms. And when we are fatigued, we tend to do less exercise, and this progressive cycle continues. And the inactivity results in less fitness, and there is that tendency to become more and more fatigued as well because tasks get harder. So the good news is exercise is able to reduce deconditioning due to activity, and through this can significantly reduce fatigue. So there are a number of tips that we can use to manage fatigue, and this can be from scheduling exercise during times when you're less fatigued, such as early in the day, or plan around other activities. So if you know that's going to be a busy day with appointments, then we might not exercise the day before or after, and we might exercise on the alternating days from that. It can be things like starting off with the exercise session with short duration. So we're looking at less than 20 minutes, something which is low intensity, low repetitions, low weights, and gradually increasing as tolerated, and monitoring your fatigue as you go. It can be a matter of doing small amounts of exercise, could be 1 or 2 minutes, and then give it an hour or two, and another 1 or 2 minutes, and let it accumulate that way. And as you get stronger, it might become 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes, and so forth. Everyone's different, so work at your own pace and have regular rest. We can mix exercises that we think are quite hard with light exercises. So it can be things like walking might be quite hard, with maybe a couple of upper body exercises which are a little bit lighter. And it might be riding the bike, for example, and maybe doing some exercises where we're sitting down. So you don't have those long periods of exercise where you're huffing and puffing. We can alternate between muscle groups as well, so we don't end up doing exercises which focuses on one muscle group. So it can be doing lower body exercises and alternating with our upper body exercises. Rest after exercise, and if you do find you are quite tired for more than an hour, or if fatigue starts to cause physical problems, then in the next session we do need to consider reducing the duration, intensity, repetition, or weights. Unfortunately, individuals with MS do usually experience fatigue for longer and do take longer to recover. And also, if you are feeling unwell, then we don't exercise at all. So we need to see how we feel as well. If there are concerns of exercise due to weakness in the legs or reduced mobility, then there are options of doing upper body exercises. There are wheelchair-based exercises, water-based exercises, and there are exercise machines and equipment that are designed to help strengthen lower limbs. And you could also utilize exercise professionals for advice, support from carers and family to assist you with doing some of the exercises, and attending things like MS-specific exercise groups can also be beneficial as well. So many options with the types of exercise. For pain, it is always good to ask a health professional, specifically a GP, a physiotherapist, or exercise professional, to determine if it is safe to start or to continue exercising. There are different ways of exercising using various equipment that can be adapted to ensure you don't get increased pain after exercise. For anyone new starting exercise, it is normal to feel sore for a few days after exercise, but this soreness shouldn't interfere with your day-to-day activities. And even for people who do regular exercise, if we do end up changing your program and your exercise a little bit different, you may find you may also feel sore. This is actually good pain that shows that your muscles are breaking down because we've stressed it with exercise. But what the muscles do is they end up rebuilding stronger. So the next time you do those exercises, it actually gets easier and you don't necessarily feel as sore. We call this pain DOMS, or delayed onset muscle soreness. What happens when it is hard to get to an exercise facility? Try to keep moving as much as you can, and see how you can fit some of these moving into your day-to-day life. This can be things like walking or wheeling from A to B, doing an exercise video at home, using equipment that you might have at home or at the local park. I have clients who do balance exercises while waiting for the kettle to boil, or practice walking up and down stairs at home. So it can be incorporated into a lot of your day-to-day activities. And lastly, what to do during an exacerbation? Always take a break from exercising. If there has been a bit of illness, then it is okay to take a couple of weeks off, and we could slowly, gradually introduce the exercise again. And we could either reduce the intensity of the exercise, we could reduce the duration. We can also do gentler types of exercise as well. And after taking a little bit of break, we could always restart and start from a reduced intensity and gradually build up. The good news is, if you have been doing exercise, then it is very easy for you to build up again as well. So it won't take as long as the first time. And if there has been any changes, then it might be worth reviewing your exercise program as well, just to accommodate anything new that might have come up. All right, the next thing is motivation. For someone who hasn't exercised before, this is actually the hardest thing, getting started. So I think everyone who's listening in today has taken the first step. They're thinking about exercise, which is really great. For anyone who's currently doing exercise, I think the next hardest step is actually motivation to keep going. To get the benefits of exercise, it is important to make exercising a habit, something you don't necessarily think about doing, and something which is easily incorporated into your lifestyle. And sometimes it does take time to figure what works best for you. So when starting out, keep in mind that doing something is better than doing nothing, and do something which is realistic and that fits well into your life. For some people, it might be things like joining a sports team, a club, or a local walking group. Some people enjoy exercising with someone else, whether or not it's a friend or family or carer. Do something you enjoy, because this means that you're more likely to continue with this habit that we're forming. And you may need to schedule it so it forms part of your routine. And sometimes by scheduling in, we are prioritizing doing exercise over other commitments that might come up. And in terms of keeping going, setting specific goals. So such as I will walk to the end of my street in 2 months, and maybe building up to bigger goals, such as walking 3 kilometers without stopping by the end of next year. You may have all heard about SMART goals. We want goals which are specific, in this case, walking, measurable, such as walking to the end of the street or being able to walk the 3 kilometers. We also want it to be achievable and realistic, depending on your physical ability and also the resources that you might have access to, and also timely. We want to complete this walking in the 2 months or by the end of the year. And think of something that you might want to reward yourself with, because you've worked hard for your achievements. Keep a record of what you have done, and you can see your improvements. And sometimes if we're able to see ourselves improving, we become more motivated to continue. Some people, they might follow a structured program or supervised groups, um, and you might use things like pictures and diagrams to remind you of what to do. And combining exercise with the outdoors, where you get sunshine, fresh air, the social support, is also good. And having that variety means that we don't get bored as easily. And having that variety is good is because, for example, if outdoors might be raining on that particular day, we could do something at home. And if the day is really lovely outside, then we can do something outdoors as well. So being flexible gives us more options. Use exercise as a bit of a transport, getting to and from places. It might be catching public transport. It might be walking to the post box and getting the letters. It might be walking to the shops by parking a little bit further away. And as you get stronger, we can move from maybe parking right next to shops to maybe a little bit further away each time. Some people find connecting with others on social medias to discuss being active works quite well with them, because there's that sharing that achievements and also being able to motivate one another to keep each other exercising. So where can we get started, and where can we get help to support us on this journey of starting and continuing with exercises? We have a number of exercise services in New South Wales, and MS Connect can link you with our services. So in this table, you can see in New South Wales, we've actually got a number of exercise groups located in Chatswood. We've got some in East Gosford. Um, we also have yoga at Lickham, Marrickville, and Lane Cove. We also have Dance for Health at Lickham. And in this table, when you go back to your handout, you'll be able to see where the address is and also the cost, and when these classes happen. At Lickham, we also have a MS specific gym, and we are open from Mondays to Fridays, 9 to 3. The team here consists of the MS physiotherapist who completes the assessments and provides you with an individualized exercise plan. Part of my role as an exercise physiologist is that I assist all our participants with completing the exercise program safely in our gym, as well as to modify the exercises for progression, or I might modify if there are changes in MS symptoms, medical conditions, and exercise goals. Our team here is able to provide assistance with any questions, and also with things like home programs, and connecting you with other services that we think might be beneficial for you, in particular if the gym is not working for you. Other places for advice can be the private physiotherapist, or a physiotherapist in a rehab setting, can be an exercise physiologist or or a fitness instructor. I have put up 2 links for the Australian Physio Association and also the Exercise Sports Science Australia Association, where you can find a physiotherapist or exercise physiologist in the area that might work for you, who may specialise in MS or a neurological condition. You may speak to your GP as they might be able to refer you to an exercise professional that suits you. There are also exercise professionals who work with NDIS, things like the aged care and also Medicare. So there's a couple of options for you to use funding if because some of these services can be quite costly as well. So there's a bit of help there. I'll put the link up there for the MS Get Fit toolkit. So that's the Canadian resource. And I've also put in a link. That website gives us a list of services that we might have to do. So to the end of our presentation. So the key points that I really hope we're all able to take away from today is physical activity has many benefits for individuals with the MS and can help with managing and improving the MS symptoms. Doing something is better than doing nothing. Exercise is safe and will not make your MS worse or bring on an exacerbation. Start slow and gradually increase your activity. And as we get stronger and fitter, then we could slowly progress it. And we all start from somewhere as well. So even if it's a small amount, that's okay. We're starting. Choose enjoyable and motivating activities. This means that we are likely to continue and build on this habit. Exercise with others or in a group. For some people, this is a great opportunity to catch up with friends. And we find a lot of the clients who come into our gym, they really enjoy the catch up. And it's a good way of catching up with everyone versus maybe going out to eat or something like that. And it's good that everyone has that common goal with improving the exercise goals. Choose activities that fit into your routine because this makes it easier for us to continue as well. And be sensible about resting and recovery. Listen to your body, and from that we could judge what we can and can't do. And monitor your progress and reward yourself because you guys all deserve it. It is very hard sometimes to get started and stick with it, but hopefully the benefits of exercise can be quite rewarding for you. Okay, and we're at the very end, so we're open to questions.
Thanks, Jady. Just while people are typing in their questions, and I'd encourage that, there's a few there that I'll get to. I'd just like to absolutely reinforce what Jady was saying about the benefits of connecting together in order to be motivated around exercise. And that you can actually do that through our peer support program as well. Many of our peer groups support each other to connect to programs locally. They maybe go along together to activities and get that camaraderie that comes from doing exercise together. I'm also going to give a little promotion when Jady was talking about some of the barriers to exercising, and she talked about the limited access that you might have to exercise programs. I'll do a little spruik for our programs that we've been running by webinar. So at the moment, Pilates is running by webinar, and that overcomes a whole lot of the barriers for people because you can do it from home. And if the cost to that is prohibitive, we also have the opportunity to access bursaries. So please never feel that you can't just ring and say, I want to access that program and I'd like to have a bursary so that I can do it. We don't get you to fill in any forms, or there's no means testing around that. We just have the bursaries there to enable you to attend those programs. So that would be great. I'm also going to pick up on the fact that Jady listed all the programs that are happening in New South Wales. But as you know, we're an organisation that crosses 4 states and territories, and we have just updated the list of the exercise programs that run through the Canberra office in the ACT. And I know that in Hobart, there's currently a Pilates program running face-to-face that has been subsidised by a grant, so that's able to be offered free of charge. So there are always things happening in all the states, and it's really great for you to connect with those either through the website or through MS Connect. Now, Jady, I'm going to throw some questions at you. Lynn is wondering, what exercises she can do when she's actually needing to use a wheelie walker.
Oh, yeah. So one of those walkers, I'm guessing. Yeah. So with the walkers, walking is an exercise. We can do balance exercises. So even if we use the walker as a bit of support to stand, we might stand with one foot in front of the other. So you might feel a little bit of wobble, but that wobble is actually quite good to help with stabilizing as you're doing the exercises. So we can do exercises like tippy toes as well. That helps with the balance exercises. If you find it gets a little bit tiring, then you could always sit on it. Take a band with you, and you could use a resistance band and do a couple of upper body exercises while you're taking a break from the lower body exercises as well.
That's great.
Yeah. So yeah.
Larry's wondering if there are any tricks that you know, because what he says is it's hard to know when I'm about to run out of petrol with MS. Are there any tricks to know when you're about to run out of puff? So how do you know when you're, reaching the end of your limitations?
Yeah, and Barry, I think sometimes if you're aware of your MS symptoms, sometimes if you find you're starting to experience some of your MS symptoms a little bit more, and this could be something along the lines of maybe you're getting a little bit weaker. And in particular, maybe it's more the leg muscles. You're finding that you may not be able to move as well. It might become a little bit more of a struggle. Sometimes people might find they start getting a bit of a tingling sensation. Some people find they might start getting really tired and tired to a point where the fatigue is a little bit more than what's we consider baseline. And if those and everyone's symptoms is quite different. So if you find that's happening, then just take a bit of a break, take a couple more minutes to slow down, take some icy drinks with you if heat sensitivity is one of them. So that could help you cool your body down a little bit. Things like wet towels, cooling towels as well can also help. If you're starting to exercise, maybe it will be good to maybe have someone with you just for the safety side of things. And then as you exercise a little bit more, chances are you become a little bit more familiar with what sort of symptoms starts happening when you are tired. And you could probably predict when it's going to be happening and stop exercising before it reaches that point.
Yes, that's great. Looking out for the signs, that's really important. Jady, Anne is wondering if if you could maybe provide some of the evidence that proves that exercise can significantly reduce fatigue, because I know that's true. Maybe that's an article or something that we could send round to people.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. So what I'll do is, Andrea, I might send the article to you, and then we could share the article out to everyone.
Absolutely. And I have
Yeah.
also downloaded that MS Get Fit toolkit, so I thought I might circulate that to people. I know you provided the link, but we might be able to do that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Eliza's asking, oh no, actually she's sharing a hint for people. She says she
Oh,
sometimes does balance exercises on the train, and she thought that could be useful for others because it's a time management thing. And I personally find those type of hints really useful because it's a matter of fitting in the exercise in the busy day that you already have.
yeah, that is a brilliant idea. Good on you. That's great.
And Verstein's got a question. I might actually comment on it too.
Yeah.
Verstein's wondering, are there different available exercise programs modified to suit a person with a disability? Example, yoga. Verstein, I'm going to add a comment and then Jady might add one as well. Something I've advised people over the years is to always go and talk to a leader of an exercise program that you're interested in joining. Get an idea from them if they can modify the activities for you. They should be able to. And the worst thing would be to sign up for a 10-week program and then find actually they have no flexibility and they can't figure out how to accommodate you, and you've done your dough because you've signed up for the program. So that would be my advice, is always go and ask them, because they should always be able to modify it. But Jady, you might want to add something to that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I think if you get the opportunity to discuss with the person running the program, they'll be able to discuss with you your needs, and they'll be able to modify the exercise for you. There's a lot of different types of movement as well, and we can do a lot of these movements in different positions as well, whether or not it's lying down, sitting down, standing, with or without support. So usually, if the program that you're interested in, if you have a bit of a chat to them, most people would be happy to modify the exercises for you. Yeah, and sometimes you might get programs which allow you to sit down, or maybe to trial it out, or maybe even to watch a video so you could see how it is like as well. I know with a lot of the programs that we have here, we do have yoga and we do have dance, and even with the Tai Chi that we've got, we might have we do have a class which is just upper body based as well. So it is actually all done completely sitting down, and we've got another class which has a bit more standing. So there are different levels of different types of exercise programs as well.
Yep, there's something for everyone, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Thank you so much, Jady, and thank you everyone for your time online today. That's been a lot of information presented over the last little while. So the recording is there for you to review, and the handouts are there for you to read as well. And we strongly encourage you to take up the enthusiasm that you have had that prompted you to come today, to continue with that and look for a program to get involved in, so that you can increase your physical activity. It's fabulous stuff for all of us.
And thank you everyone for joining today. It's been wonderful to present this, and hopefully I hope everyone takes something a little bit out of this presentation, and hopefully it's been very motivating for you to start and to continue with exercising. Good luck with it.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. We'll see you at the next webinar. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.